The Clarecastle Fianna Fáil Councillor Tom O'Callaghan is calling for new measures to tackle the misuse of disabled parking spaces. He recently brought a motion before Clare County Council proposing a text alert system that would allow members of the public to report vehicles illegally parked in disabled bays directly to traffic wardens for enforcement. The council says it supports the idea in principle and will now carry out a feasibility assessment, including looking at how similar schemes operate in other areas. And Tom is on the line now. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning, Alan.
So you brought this motion before the local authority about bringing in a text alert scheme for the misuse of disabled parking bays. I guess in terms of what prompted you to raise the issue, how serious an issue is this?
Well, look, I suppose first of all, I have been approached by people and that are vulnerable and that have, disability or just maybe just age or, maybe mobility. And they just come to me, casually, and they've said, Tom, we're having an awful time trying to get close, maybe to their chemist, maybe to their hairstylist, maybe to, their shop. And they're finding it very difficult to get certain car spaces. And I said, how do you mean? Well, they said, when we arrive to, say, a parking bay, there's somebody parking in that bay, which are not entitled to it. They don't have a sticker. So there has to be a way, I felt, of how we're going to address this. And I suppose I did a bit of research now, Alan, and when I did that research, I noted, and I have to compliment Clare County Council, in 2022, there were 78 spaces allocated, and there are 31 parking bays that are specifically allocated for age-friendly use. Now, they've actually increased that by a further 3. So the council are doing a great job. It is the public that are being very poor here, in that they're allowing themselves use these spaces thinking they have a right. So we have to look at, and that's what I did. I did a bit of research, and I found that in Lucan in Dublin and in Gorey in Wexford, they actually have a system in place where if somebody parks illegal, they can contact the traffic warden immediately, and that person gets fined. That's the way forward.
And the fact that you are, I suppose, raising this as an idea, does that suggest that enforcement hasn't been what it could and perhaps should be?
I suppose it comes back to, Alan, and people are well known now at this stage. I have a huge respect for the mature people and people that need that bit of help. Being in the role I am as a postmaster for many years. And what I found here was, and when I again looked at the recent survey, the Disabled Drivers Association indicates that 94% respondents would welcome a text alert scheme to notify wardens of illegal parking. And the survey also found that many people with disabilities, they feared the confrontation. So they actually feared going up to somebody that was parking illegally in the first place. So what this effectively will do is that there'll be a sign in each of those bays. The member of the public will be able to scan it, and they will be able to go directly to the warden. The warden then will be able to issue immediately when he arrives on site a ticket, and that person is now liable for a €150 fine. And I can assure you, Alan, if that is done, we'll see a dramatic change of mindset, and the people that benefit are the ones that those bays are for. And that, to me, is what this will do.
Do you think this could lead to more fines and enforcement, Tom? Or is it more about encouraging people to think twice before parking illegally, that if and when this comes in, initially you'll see more enforcement, more fines, but that will taper off when word gets out and people, as I say, will think twice before even parking in a disabled bay?
Yeah, I think that's it. And again, I'm going to come back to it. The council have done a great job. They provide the spaces. They've actually upgraded a lot of them very recently on request from myself as well with the engineers. Great team inside the road section. And then we look at, and again, it's been well documented that I have real concerns about our town, our parking. I mean, we're very fortunate. We have a very good director of service with Jason Murphy. The Clyster now is developing fantastic. We have a great CEO in Margaret O'Brien in the Chamber, and we have a president in Dearmid, and we're all focusing now on how do we create extra car spaces for the town. So what we have to do is take pressure off the public so they're not, I suppose, tempted. And I suppose everybody will be doing it out of malice, and they think, sure, I'll just pop in here for 2 seconds. But what they're realising, and which is wrong, is that one member that needs that car space, if they can't get in, their family can't get in, and it creates this unnecessary stress. So really, I suppose it's joined up thinking here, and we really need to look at how do we create more easy access within our existing town. Maybe we have to look at our shopping, the model that we have already. Do we close shops in the middle of the week or the early of the week, open on the Sundays, make it more user-friendly? The council have done a great job in opening the early morning so people can go in very early to get where they need to get to, but it's awful if somebody's parking where they shouldn't. So the reality of this is, and I find this now, Alan, here in Limerick now, for example, in my own business, nobody likes paying a fine. So the current fine at the moment is €150. I think that will make people think. And if they don't pay that €150, they're liable for €300.
And given the rising costs in so many different aspects of life, Tom, obviously with fuel and so on, €150 or €300 would be a seriously missed from someone's pocket.
Well, I have to say, when I brought this into the chamber, I discussed with my colleagues, all the 7 councillors, as I include myself, agreed that this was a fantastic option going forward. And I think there's one that we'll all embrace. I think that the most important thing that in all of these little policies we're putting forward, which are really making a big significance to individuals that need those spaces, it's a game changer. And that's really what we're trying to do here. How can we do our business better? I have highlighted many times about, we now have the Francis Street situation. There's nothing happened on that site. We need to sit down with Park, who's a great guy, in 2040. We need to look at, is there going to be development? Because I believe, by the way, that there's a problem there with the model for the housing that's been proposed. So if that is the case, why are we leaving that empty site not open? And I can assure you, Alan, if I owned that site, it'll be generating money. We need to get money back in. We need to get easy access. And if we can achieve that, and I think we can, we'll see a much more user-friendly for all ages and all people. And that's really what the whole idea of this motion was.
In response to your motion, the council has said it'll carry out a feasibility assessment and consult with groups like the Disabled Drivers Association. What would you like to see come out of that review?
I think urgently let's get this in play, and I guarantee you that you will see a significant different mindset. Really what we have a most magnificent town. I think if we just take a step back and we look at how do we make it more accessible, and that's really what we're going to do here. I find when you find people, they do think differently, and that needs to be addressed. We have fantastic wardens on the ground. They've said it themselves, people parking in different places. That has to be addressed. And the only way to do it is make it more user-friendly, make it easier for the warden, and give control to the people. This is what this will do. You'll have very conscientious people that are very bothered for all those individuals that need those spaces. They will text that warden, and those individuals will get fined. And that, to me, would be a fantastic step forward.
Do you think enough in general has been done in towns like Ennis to support accessibility for people with disabilities? And not just in Ennis, but in Clare. Is there enough disabled parking available across the county? And are there particular areas where maybe access and parking for people with disabilities needs a look at, needs improvement?
Well, you see, Alan, I've always said it, and again to reiterate, there is a shortage of car parking, and I call it front-tier car parking, where you can get very near the businesses, the shops, people to get moved around. Like I've always said, and I continue to say this, we have an ideal site there, the Templegate Hotel, that should be developed, in my opinion, a multi-story car park. We all need to now focus on getting that done, I believe. We have to look at Dunn stores, get them the opportunity to double the size of their... The whole concept here is the easy flow. And if you make it easier accessible, I guarantee you we'll transform our town in a very short space of time. Because realistically, we only have 81 designated spaces in all of our town. And you have 31 car parking bays allocated for the age-friendly use. So if you think of it, we have a population of heading for 30,000. So those spaces are always going to be under attack. But what this will do, it'll be a fundamental game changer in a basically finding out who is actually parking where they shouldn't be parking, and they get fined. But the sole concept here is there a better way of making our town more user-friendly? And this is definitely a step forward, I believe.
If and when this comes in, Tom, could Ennis act as a pilot? Could this text alert scheme be rolled out county-wide?
I would hope that we'll make it national. I'd be talking to our Oireachtas members here in our county to talk to their fellow colleagues, because really this is getting power back to the people. I've always said it, people first. And it doesn't matter who you are, you've all a right. And if you don't have that right, that is wrong. So this is a policy that I believe will make a big difference to the people that need it. And that to me would be lovely to see happen.
Okay, be interesting to see if and when this comes in. Tom, thank you very much. That's the Clarecastle Fianna Fáil Councillor Tom O'Callaghan with us on Morning Focus.